Not convinced it ain't no acting or accident what the track emits. You strapped with gas that you ain't even practiced with. The fact is.
Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. This is your host, MagMongoSlade. Today we're going to be talking about Monday Night Raw from Valentine's Day, February the 14th, 2022. And boy, what a show it was. What a show. And nothing happened. Nothing happened. This was a absolutely nothing show, and I was very tired by the time it was over. This show was exhausting. What an exhausting show. What an exhausting show. All right. We got to talk about the show. So we're going to talk about that. News and notes. First, news and notes. People have said one of the things that have been floating around the last couple of days is Vince McMahon doesn't see anything wrong with today's product. That he thinks there's nothing wrong with the product. I don't know. I hate when people say what Vince is thinking without Vince saying himself what he thinks. It's very frustrating to me that, when people say, oh, this is what Vince thinks. It's like, how do you know what he thinks? Like, I think that if anybody knows how to read minds as wrestling journalists, they do a really good job of talking about morale and what people think and all this kind of stuff without actually talking to them. I don't think that Vince has an issue with anything. I look at it as he makes business decisions. Sometimes, and I think this show kind of proves it, that sometimes imprudent in business, you cut corners. And I think Vince cuts corners too often. And one of the things that, cutting corners is, excessive rematches, for instance, excessive video packages, those kinds of things. They're cutting corners. It's time filler. And every show has time filler. They have filler episodes, things that kind of go off, that kind of veer off track. WWE kind of does it far too often. And that's the kind of thing that I'm looking at when I watch Raw. Is when you watch like Dragon Ball or Naruto or something like that, there's going to be episodes that's got nothing to do with the manga. Some of my favorite Dragon Ball episodes were the filler because you got to see characters doing interesting things, like, Krillin deep diving for a pearl to get to his, the girl that he has a crush on. It says a lot about the character of Krillin and the character of Gohan and that kind of stuff, but it's not in the manga, So there's some cool stuff that happens in filler episodes, but Raw and SmackDown is slowly but surely catching up. It's too much filler. It is incredibly too much filler, but it's a good way of cutting corners until your next big thing, until you do something else, you kind of cut corners. And I think they do that too much, and I see that's a prudent business decision. It's a business decision to, okay, we got to get through this episode of Raw. We don't know what to do. Let's just do this. All right, let's just do that. Let's not put too much thought into this angle here. Let's not put too much thought into that angle there. I think Vince sits down and says, oh, this is perfect, pal. This is exactly what I want. Like, I don't know about that. I'm looking at it as he sees most of these Raws and SmackDowns as filler, and he just fills them with stuff. That's why a lot of this stuff doesn't come back up later. It's just kind of like, okay, we'll just do this for now and let's go. Because you have to have Raw every Monday. You have to have SmackDown every Friday. You got to put something on the screen. So why not mostly rematches and video packages? Yes, it's fucking over the audience. Yes, it's fucking over the attendance and that kind of stuff. But, it's something until you can figure out the next thing. And so when I hear that Vince isn't, too concerned about the product or he doesn't think there's anything wrong with the product, I'm not looking at it as he's watching wrestling to enjoy it. That's not how I'm looking at things. He's not watching the show like you and me are watching the show. And I'm getting a lot of mileage out of that Dave Meltzer quote that, it's a different audience. He's looking at this thing a lot differently than we are. He sees wrestling as a job. We see wrestling as entertainment. So we're looking at it, looking at it like, how could I get through this day? How do we get through this 8 o'clock to 11 o'clock hour? And what are we going to, what's filler we're going to throw on the screen? And what is stuff that we need to do to get to the next day? And Raw is filled with that kind of stuff. This show is definitely filled with that kind of stuff. So am I surprised that Vince McMahon doesn't see anything wrong with today's product? No, because he's looking at the business differently than everybody else. Fans and creators are going to have different opinions of the work. They just are, you know. And plus, I don't think Vince is writing this stuff anyway. Now, he's 70 some odd years old. What would be the point of him having writers if he's going to be the one writing it? Somebody has to be quality control. That's pretty much his job. So I really don't care that much about, you know, what other people think Vince's opinion of the product is, because it doesn't make that much sense. Yes, I saw the Stone Cold Steve Austin thing. We'll be talking about that in a separate video, because that's going to be something where I have to talk for a long time. And if it's going to take me at least 10 minutes to get through it, I'm going to just do a separate video on it. So I'm going to do a separate video on Stone Cold Steve Austin. Brock Lesnar was on Pat McAfee's show and said some really cool stuff. And I was going to talk about this on its own, but then I realized it's not going to take me 10 minutes to talk about it. Brock gave some good advice to the young boys. And his advice was, get over, figure out how to put butts in seats, not worry about your next high spot, figure out how you can be different, how you can make money. That's it. That's the business. Then he continued, the young generation think you can do a move over and over. That's not the business. There's a good guy and there's a bad guy, pitting people against each other. Storylines. That's what is fun about me coming back. The storyline with Roman. And of course, you know, this is what everybody's been talking about. You know, the storyline between Brock and Roman has dominated WWE for the last 3 or 4 months. Of course, it took a little bit of a detour because of day one. They had to cancel that match. So that kind of threw things into, you know, out of whack a little bit. And that's actually kind of what makes the story drag, I think, is the fact that they didn't get to have that day one match. But it's still very engaging. It's still the most engaging thing on the show. And Brock is correct. Now, I did see a lot of people, WWE doesn't want guys to get over on their own. WWE doesn't give people an opportunity, doesn't give people a chance. What you need to understand is what Brock said is about being unique and standing out. And sometimes people are unique and they do stand out and things still don't go their way. That's when we can say, all right, you know, Vince is dropping the ball or whatever. Keith Lee, Braun Strowman, to that degree. But then there's other guys that you think should be a star just because he's good at flipping and he's good at wrestling. And nobody else feels that way. You know, nobody else feels that way. Case in point, Mascarita Dorada, who wrestled in WWE as Grand Metalik. You know, there's so many people who are so excited that he's now a free agent. And I was like, none of those people who, you know, you have to already like Lucha Libre to like this guy. And look, I liked him too. You know, I liked him when he was in WWE. I liked Grand Metalik. But ultimately, he's not going to go out there and make WWE look bad by, you know, drawing a bunch of money and breaking world records and attendance and everything. That's not going to happen. You know, he's a luchador who doesn't speak good English. So he's going to get some spots, obviously, because people want to wrestle, and wrestling fans want to watch good wrestlers. And Mascarita Dorada is a good wrestler. But is he going to draw a ton of money? No. Not in the United States, anyway. Maybe in Mexico, but not in the United States. It's different. It's a different audience. They want different things. You know, Brock is correct. We want characters. You know, nobody's ever come to see a match just because it's a match. Usually there's some type of angle told through the media about the match. And that's always how things have been. Even back in the days of Gotch and Hackenschmidt, there's two guys calling themselves world champions. We're going to figure out which one is the real world champion on this night, whenever, yada, yada, yada. And then once Hackenschmidt loses, he says, oh, Gotch cheated. He thumbed me in the eye. He was fish hooking or whatever the case may be. And we're going to have a rematch. You know, that's kind of how the business goes. You know, now it's a little bit more colorful with, you know, loud characters and loud personas and loud personalities. So it doesn't really behoove you to be a quiet, introverted wrestler who's really technically proficient, like a Cesaro. It doesn't behoove you to do that in these days. Because either they'll do something silly, like put an ice cream cone on your head, which they did on the Independence. So no matter how bad they say Cesaro is being booked in WWE, he didn't have to wear an ice cream cone. Yes, he got hit with like a pumpkin or something like that, but that was a couple of years ago. So it doesn't really benefit you to be that in modern day wrestling. And Brock is correct, you know, and I'm glad that's why I'm glad NXT looks the way it does. You know, they need to get rid of some of these, very, very bland dudes. Get rid of them. Yes, you have to learn the basics. You have to learn how to work, but you need to put the bulk of your focus needs to be on your character work and your persona and how you look and how you present yourself. And even though I don't like the Orange Cassidys and the Wendy Chus, at least they're different, you know. At least, you know, they stand out, at least, you know, and that's a positive. At least somebody stands out, for Christ's sake. Would it hurt you to look different than everybody else from time to time? Let's see if there's anything else. Nope, that's it. So I guess we got to get into Raw. Those were the two biggest issues, or three. The Steve Austin thing, like I said, will be discussed in a different video. Okay, so let's get into Raw. They did the old segment where everybody comes out to talk about winning the Elimination Chamber. I'm not going to go through person by person. That's just too much. It's just way too much. I will say this. Lashley on the microphone. He sounded like a skipping DVD at that certain part. It was like, Lashley, what, champ, WWE champ, that. I'm like, what is going on with this guy? Like, is his brain malfunctioning? Like, while he talks, like MVP is literally right there, bruh. MVP is literally right there. Let's just let MVP do it. Can we just let MVP? This is the second week in a row. Last week, well, I think it might have, not second week in a row, probably. When they were in Colorado, I think it might have been 2 or 3 weeks ago. I was like, all right, maybe he's just a little excited because the people are cheering him. They're really into him. But this week, they're still cheering him. They're still into him. But this time, his promo is even worse at the end. Can we not have Bob talk so much? It's killing the mystique. Let's let MVP do it. Let's keep Bob's promos to a minimum. Of course, there was some combat during this scene as Brock Lesnar came out there and Austin Theory decided he was going to take a chance and attack Brock from behind, which I actually liked. I said, I think it was last week, that Austin Theory needed to be more involved. That as the young boy, he kind of needs to go out there and stand out. So he jumped Brock from behind, which is an absolutely crazy thing to do. And obviously he got destroyed. It was great. You know, it was a great segment. He took 100 suplexes or whatever, 3 suplexes. And Brock took a selfie with him. You know, of Austin Theory. I'm surprised Brock knows how to use a cell phone. Because we realized, didn't we establish in canon that Brock Lesnar, you know, has a cellular device that was of the Razor variety. And that was about it. And now he knows how to use advanced iPhones or something like that. Interesting. Long-term storytelling. All right. Your boy Riddle came out there in a toga, which was the theme throughout the show of his toga party. He, of course, invited guys to his toga party, and it was ridiculous. You know, it was absolutely absurd, and his hair was braided. This toga party was the most absurd thing that has taken place on WWE TV in quite a while. Now, it was pretty bland in terms of what they decided to do. You know, it was just a bunch of cameos, and that was pretty much it. So, in the first scene of the toga party, we saw Apollo Crews with Commander Aziz. They were in togas. Zelina Vega and Carmella were in togas. And Zelina thought that the party was for her for some reason. I have no idea why she thought the party was for her. It would have been nice if they could have, you know, filled that out. Then she finds out that it's not for her, that it was Riddle's idea. Randy, of course, is not partying. He's focused on wrestling Seth Rollins. So the next time we check in with the toga party, they're dancing. The Street Profits are there. They're dancing. There's 2 other guys. I have no idea who they are. They're dancing, and Riddle is doing the robot. Man, I'm telling you. It was like that scene out of Chappelle's show where, what was it? The Charlie Murphy's thing. And there's a guy doing the robot at the party. He's dressed all weird. That's exactly how the screen was panning across everybody at the toga party dancing and everything, and except Zelina and Carmella. Carmella looks very bored in the back, like filing her nails or something like that. And Zelina's still doing her queenly wave at everybody. And the Street Profits are dancing. And Riddle is just, he's in between, like, it's absolutely silly. It was the silliest shit in the world. It was tame as far as parties go. It wasn't like wild. You know, they need to up the energy on these little parties, but it was silly, you know. And then the Alpha Academy broke it up, and Riddle was playing the guitar and he was singing and everything. So he didn't see the Alpha Academy show up in Letterman's jackets, which was a great touch for their characters. They're actually starting to like Alpha Academy in terms of giving them TV time. They broke it up, beat up Riddle. Nobody helped him. He invited all these people to these parties. The Street Profits are baby faces too. And they all got the hell out of there. When Otis and Gable showed up, everybody got away. Everybody ran away. Like, with friends like these, who needs enemies? Alpha Academy defeated Rey Mysterio and Dominic, with a little help from The Miz. The Miz will be wrestling Rey Mysterio at Elimination Chamber. Interesting match. Filler though. Don't see it really going too much of anywhere. Hopefully it kind of begins the whatever Rey Mysterio is going to be doing at WrestleMania, which I'm guessing is going to be a match with Dominic. You know, maybe it's going to start there. It's amazing that Rey Mysterio is on the roster and still wrestling at a high level and not factored in at all anywhere near the main event or a top spot. And I'm not saying like he should be world champion. I think those days are kind of over. But I do think that he should be factored in a big money situation. Like, he's one of your top stars in a big Hispanic market in Texas. We should be focused on Rey Mysterio doing something big. You know, he should be the legend that is stepping up to challenge somebody. Like, if we was to do Damian Priest versus Rey Mysterio for the U.S. title, that would be great. You know, that would be fantastic. I would love that. And if that's where if that's going to be the direction that we could go, that would be excellent. You know, it's a great spot for Rey because it's still kind of mid-card, but it's upper mid-card. It's great for Damian Priest as an upgrade from his Bad Bunny match of last year. It keeps him involved with top guys. He just wrestled AJ Styles and defeated him on this show. That was a pretty good match too. You know, so yeah, I would like that. And if I was fantasy booking, that's where I probably would do Rey versus Damian Priest. But I would actually put some heat on that by maybe doing promos and stuff between them where, you know, Damian Priest says, I got an open challenge at WrestleMania, and then Rey Mysterio accepts the challenge. But maybe Dominic accepts the challenge that night, and, you know, Damian Priest defeats Dominic, and maybe he loses his cool. And, you know, Dominic is being, you know, a little tougher than he expected. And, you know, Damian Priest hits Dominic with a chair or something like that. And then it leads us to Rey versus Damian Priest at WrestleMania. Like, that would be sweet, you know. They've been doing something for a while now with Damian Priest losing his cool and getting disqualified, getting counted out and stuff like that. And being a poor sport. Even though they kind of went back on it when it comes to the Damian Priest AJ Styles match where he just won the match with a roll up and then they shook hands afterwards. I was like, okay. I guess they just wanted to yank AJ Styles out of this situation as quickly as possible. But I would like that idea. And I just came up with that off the top of my head, the whole Rey Mysterio, Damian Priest idea. It works. If you know, I'm not saying turn Damian Priest completely heel, but at least give them a reason why they would fight, you know, and Dominic is a good reason why they would fight if Dominic can piss off Damian Priest and, you know, Damian Priest bullies him around and Rey has to take up for his son. In addition to the U.S. title being on the line, that could be fun. But I'm all the way off the topic. I don't know how I got this far into the weeds. Oh, so Damian Priest and AJ Styles was the first match anyway, so cool. And Alpha Academy will be wrestling, I'm guessing, RK Bro. Would it be at Elimination Chamber or they said in 2 weeks? I'm not sure. I'm not sure when this match will be. I think they said 2 weeks. Because Riddle is working Elimination Chamber. He's going to be in the Elimination Chamber match. So they certainly won't be wrestling at Elimination Chamber. Okay. All right, so Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens, the earmarked opponent for Stone Cold Steve Austin. Oh, boy. Anyway. He's cuts a promo because he was being questioned about whether he was sincere in his love for Texas. He says that he's a realist and that he wanted to be in Elimination Chamber, but it's clear that he won't be there, and therefore he probably won't be at WrestleMania anyway. And the one positive thing about that is he won't have to compete in Texas, and that the people of Texas questioned him and are concerned about his love for Texas. And then he says he was lying at the time, that he hates Texas and Indianapolis. And of course, this was just a way for him to get booze. This was some of that filler I was talking about before. There's really him healing up on Texas in Indiana makes no sense, right? Even if he's going to be doing something with somebody from Texas at WrestleMania, to go all in on fuck Texas in somewhere that's not Texas seems a little strange, you know, because it's like, how are they supposed to react? How are the people in Indianapolis supposed to react to you not liking Texas? I don't know. He did do a little bit of the old, I'm from Canada, you know, and put over Quebec and everything. Put over being a good little Canadian, which is, it's now not a great time to be a Canadian. Sammy and Kevin Owens, not a great time to be a Canadian. Well, maybe they may think differently. They might think differently, but you know, I'm from the outside looking in. Now ain't the best time to be a Canadian. So let's move on from that. Alexa Bliss, the therapy sessions. This is still the reigning, defending, terrible segments on this show. Alexa Bliss therapy segments. She wanted the violin music turned off, so the doctor turned the violin off. He then pulls out the stuffing from the dolls, the pieces of Lily, and then he gave them to Alexa Bliss, saying that this should bring her at peace. This should give her closure. Later, we see that Alexa Bliss is cured. She was cured and has been allowed to go free by her doctor as long as Lily is by her side. And that she has a new Lily doll, a replica that has the stuffing of the original Lily inside of it. And as long as this Lily is at Alexa Bliss's side, she will be okay. And she was then entered into the Elimination Chamber match. This is all stupid. Because I thought the point was to get rid of this fucking doll. That's what I thought the point of the therapy sessions was. To get rid of the fucking doll. I thought that was the point. Apparently the point was to have Alexa Bliss not be crazy, but to still have the doll? What the fuck is the point of that? Jesus H. fucking Christ. What the hell? This is stupid. So that means all of these therapy sessions were just filler. If the point wasn't to get her away from being demonized and getting her away from the fucking doll, what was the point of this thing? She changed her hair. That was it. She's not going to come back as regular as Alexa Bliss, which is what she should have been in the first place. And from when they played her theme music, they still played the Fiend version of her theme music. No, that's not what we want. That's not what anybody wanted. I thought we were getting rid of the fucking doll. Now we're stuck with the doll. What the fuck? It's such circular reasoning. It seemed like the doctor was a little bit more sinister near the end. That he was, as long as Lily is with you, you will be all right. And I was kind of like, huh? What? As long as Lily is with you, as long as you keep Lily with you. I'm like, I don't like this. I'm sorry, man. I thought this was going somewhere. I thought we was going to figure out that Lily is a separate personality, that she was going to get exorcised or something, and she was going to come out of this, or at least when this whole thing was over, she was going to go back to being herself. It seems like she's still some dark version of Alexa Bliss. They just peeled back some of the Fiend stuff, but they kept the fucking doll, which is defeats the fucking point. So while she was doing that, her opponents were having a gauntlet match to see who was going to come in last. And I instantly wrote down, this is a great way to have a match, you know, like an Elimination Chamber match, come across like a fucking rematch. Just have everybody fight right before it. Now you turn the Elimination Chamber into a fucking rematch. Because the Elimination Chamber is a gauntlet match. They can all come in on intervals. The difference between the two is you have to actually beat somebody here before the next person comes down. But now we've seen them all fight before. Not to mention, this is the first main roster meeting between Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair. Like, this stuff is just generic content. None of this stuff is meant to have any meaning to it. You know, and you try to put some type of meaning to it. You try to say, hey, Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair could be money in the future as a feud between the two of them. And especially considering they may not have had any matches on the main roster before. And it's like, oh, nope, now they're going to have two in the same week, by the way. They're going to have two matches where they wrestle each other in the same week. Rhea Ripley defeated Nikki Ash. She also defeated Doudrop, Liv Morgan, before losing to Bianca Belair in the finals of the Gauntlet. Rhea Ripley was in that match for 44 minutes. Tremendous performance for Rhea Ripley. They really did a good job of putting her over. They're trying to get her back where she was in terms of putting her back in the upper echelon of the women. She didn't look bad in losing to Bianca Belair, considering Bianca came in last for the Gauntlet. Why they didn't have a match to see who's going to come in last for the Gauntlet? You know, that's the stupid thing about it. It's so stupid. Hey, who's going to come in last in the chamber? I don't know. Who's going to come in last in the fucking Gauntlet? Like, whatever you did to become last in the Gauntlet, you could have done that to come in last in the chamber. If it was a flip of the coin, did you pull sticks? Whatever it was, you could have did that for the Elimination Chamber. You know, and plus I don't like, just like the Royal Rumble, I don't like when they just announce a bunch of people to be in it. Why tell us who's coming in last? Why is that necessary? Why do I need to know who's coming in last? I don't want to know who's coming in last. And then knowing that Bianca Belair comes in last, it creates a situation where we're basically just going to give her an easy pass, because I think she's going to win the match. So if she's going to have an easy pass where another is going to be, once again, Rhea Ripley fighting through everybody and then losing to Bianca Belair at the end, if that's going to be the case, that sucks. Again, Bianca should be, you know, she should be a powerhouse, but she should have been in there first. It should have been Bianca goes in there and beats everybody. You know, that way she comes out of it looking super strong when she wrestles Becky. And I think she's going to win. Now, if Rhea is going to win the Elimination Chamber, and she's going to start the match, and she's going to work everybody and then beat Bianca at the end, then, you know, that would be crazy. That would be pretty crazy. Now, I'm not saying that, you know, that would be bad. I think Becky and Rhea is money, you know, and they haven't had matches before. So that's good. But I would be of the belief that Bianca would be, you know, the opponent for Becky Lynch. At least that's what I would think. So Alexa Bliss got to avoid all of this. She's not going to be entered the match last, and she's certainly not going to win it. So, but the question is she going to lose her quote-unquote re-debut match? And she's going to be in the match with Nikki. And now Nikki is a heel, and she's a babyface, apparently. I guess if you go to therapy, you're a babyface. So, are they going to do something between Nikki and Alexa Bliss in this match? That's possible too. I like that idea. You know, maybe they're going to have some type of interaction between the two of them. I'm thinking maybe Nikki's probably going to be gone before Alexa gets in the match. That's just kind of how they've been doing things lately. That's how they booked the Royal Rumble, where you have something naturally that's supposed to happen between two characters who are supposed to be coming in at the same time. But we're just going to have this guy get eliminated first to avoid all of that. Even though it's literally microwave storytelling. You know, it's literally one of the easiest stories to tell. And maybe they'll do something where it's actually Alexa and Nikki starting the match. You know, just so we can give a feel of what they're doing, you know, and how they're, you know, going to work against each other and that kind of stuff, and whether they're still friends or whatever the case may be. That could be interesting. But I think Bianca coming in last is a cheat code. And I don't see that as being very fair, considering she's the strongest person in the match. And she's the strongest booked, and she's the physically strongest. Why make it easy? It's like saying Brock's going to come in last. It's like, oh, okay, so you're just trying to say the match is going to happen, and then Brock's going to come in and beat everybody. You know, that's pretty much what's happening here is we're going to try to have a match, and then Bianca's going to come in and beat everybody. You know, so hope you enjoy whatever it is we do before Bianca comes in, because she comes in and she's going to start KODing people all over the place. I think I forgot when I was doing the Broga Party stuff to mention that Randy Orton was defeated by Seth Rollins. The match was very good. This is the first singles match they've had in a long time. Well, on pay-per-view, on TV rather, in a long time. It was Alpha Academy was the reason why Randy Orton lost, to continue to heat on that feud. So Randy lost a filler match for literally no reason, and Seth Rollins won a filler match for literally no reason, fueling, of course, speculation that Seth Rollins could potentially win the WWE title in the Elimination Chamber. I don't see it happening. I think either Lashley wins or Brock wins. That's just kind of how I see it. You know, going beyond that seems to be a little bit confusing, but this match was such filler that I forgot that it happened, and I had to look at my notes again. So, yeah, the match was good, but it was filler, just like the Gauntlet. There was nothing wrong with the Gauntlet, but it was 44 minutes of filler. You know, it was what it was. Next, we got Dana Brooke and Reggie. I'm only talking about this because I think that it told an interesting story. So, Reggie and Dana Brooke are definitely not dating. They're definitely not on a date. They're on a friend date. And Reggie is taking this a little too seriously. And off to the side is Tamina and Akira Tazawa. And Tamina is dressed like a celebrity who's trying to go to the grocery store without being mobbed by paparazzi. She got her head wrapped. She's wearing black sunglasses. And Tazawa is there too. It's absolutely ridiculous. I would have liked for them to do more with those two over in the corner. Maybe have them actually become friends over there in the corner. But, of course, Tamina was being very serious or whatever. And Reggie and Dana, they were dating. And then R-Truth, of course, shows up, and he's the waiter. And, of course, as R-Truth is the waiter, he scares them. They decide to flee. You know, Looney Tunes action happens. Dana Brooke and Reginald escape. Dana Brooke, once again, kisses Reggie on the cheek. Reggie says, how about we take this relationship to the next level? Dana Brooke says, oh no, you know, you're just a very good friend. You're my best friend, yada, yada, yada. He rolls her up, 1, 2, 3, wins back to 24/7 title. and takes off and leaves Dana Brooke not only without a title, but also with the check. And the first thing I thought to myself is, this is obviously people are going to take this the wrong way. I saw some people say this last week. It created a fervor of sorts. There's no such thing as the friend zone. There's no such thing as the friend zone. I'm like, yeah, spoken like somebody who doesn't want you to know the friend zone exists. You know, it definitely exists. She's been using Reggie for weeks. She has been leading him on. She's been kissing all over him and everything. Using him for protection, using him and, you know, hiding behind him and everything. And he was like, you know, either give me them cakes or give me that belt. I don't have no problem protecting you from, oh, Jesus. That's got to be like, you know, we might as well just buy a sex doll if you're going to have sex with Dana Brooke. The only difference is the heartbeat, you know. If you, I guess you could mimic a heartbeat in a sex doll, for Christ's sake. So it was funny, and I thought that was funny because it was like it was Reginald taking his balls back, you know. It was him saying, "Oh, since we're not going to be dating, fuck you. I'll take the belt." You know, I could have taken the belt this whole time, and it was a nice little build up for Valentine's Day. And it's actually interesting what they're going to do going forward, even though the 24/7 title is absolutely stupid. You know, you kind of have to see, is Dana Brooke going to get some type of revenge, you know, as far as, are they going to plot against Reggie? But Reggie's been doing this shit for too long now. This is like the R-Truth zone where he gets to do stuff on the show without wrestling. He's a little too advanced. He's like 50 some odd years old. A little too old to be wrestling in terms of being a serious competitor. So they kind of put all these characters in the R-Truth spot where he gets to be Bugs Bunny and play dress up. And it's funny sometimes. It breaks up the monotony of the show by doing something very interesting. But it is getting kind of repetitive with it's just all small packages. It's just all roll-ups, you know. Nobody's actually fighting, throwing punches and whatever. It's all zany running around in circles and somebody gets Kaylee schoolboyed or whatever. So I'm actually, I don't mind the 24/7 title, even though I hate it. I don't mind it. It breaks up the monotony. It's humorous. And I thought this was probably the best story that they've told in the 24/7 division since the Drake Maverick thing, where he was, you know, obsessed with it. And because that was classic stuff. The Drake Maverick R-Truth stuff was classic. This was not on that level, but this is the best story they've told. Because it was an actual story. It was actually weeks and weeks and weeks of Dana Brooke and Reggie being partners. And then they started getting a little bit too close. And then Dana Brooke rejected him. And then Reggie responds in kind after the blue balls. So that was okay. I thought it was a decent story. You know, hopefully they can put together another story to make this interesting, because them just running around in circles is really flat. Becky Lynch and Lita. This was the last thing I think we're going to talk about, because this show did not have a lot on it. Becky is disheveled. She comes out really upset. She's not quite her loud, big-time Beck's self. She's a little bit more on the reserved side. And she implores Lita not to sign this contract. She says she doesn't want to fight Lita, and she knows that Lita doesn't want to fight her. Lita is her childhood hero, and she's willing to overlook that Lita hit her last week. If Lita only rips up this contract, she'll act like nothing ever happened. And says that Lita has nothing left to prove, and that they don't want to fight each other. And the only people who want them to fight are these people. And Lita says, I didn't come this far to walk away. You know, I said I had another one left in me. I didn't mean one more match. I meant one more run. And I meant one more championship run. This match is happening. And Becky then got a little bit darker and said, you're pushing me. You're pushing me. Then says that she studied Lita's career and knows that Lita has an injured neck and she will go for it. And Lita's got one last chance to not sign this contract. Of course, Lita signed the contract. So now Becky Lynch, of course, signs the contract too, and she's going to have to destroy her childhood hero. And she did a good job here, I think, of really kind of getting over that she's not happy about this. You know, the big time Beck's character is so championship obsessed. And it's nice that she has more than one thing that she cares about. You know, like, obviously she has, like, her family and everything. But to introduce another thing, like her childhood hero, she's got to fight her childhood hero to maintain the title. That's very interesting, you know. And it would be very kind of cliche for her to be able to brush that off and be like, you know, whoever comes against me, you know, will get the hammer or whatever. Which is kind of what she was going with, or trying to be a little bit darker. But it seems like she tried to play on Lita's emotions. You know, we don't really want to fight each other. We have a great deal of respect for one another. And Lita was like, okay, yeah, but I want to be the champion. You know, it's been years since I've been the champion. I think I'm going to go ahead and take this opportunity. WWE once again promotes a match before the contract is signed. Why would you do such a thing? Of course, that's kayfabe. Of course, the match is going to happen. So I liked the contract signing. I like that Becky Lynch basically told Lita, look, this is not good for you. You're going against somebody who's the best. You're going against somebody who's dangerous, somebody who studied your career and who knows you. I would have liked for Lita to take it a little bit more seriously. I think that once Becky Lynch started talking about her neck and everything, Lita should have got a little bit more serious. Like, oh, now that you've told me, thanks. But, you know, you don't have any idea if you try that, what's going to actually happen. So, I liked this segment a little bit, but I really would have preferred if they'd have showed the video for Lita. They did a workout video, you know, where Lita was running around on soft sand like Apollo Creed, you know, and, you know, hiking up hills and everything. Like, she wasn't in the gym clanging and banging, but she was out there, you know, doing workout stuff. And it was nice. It was a nice little change in how people can prepare. And I always liked those videos. Like, I loved it when they did it with Lashley. What was it, WrestleMania last year? Or when they did it for Drew McIntyre for Royal WrestleMania the year before, when he was out lifting giant boulders. Like, Brock Lesnar, I'm going to tear you apart. And he's screaming in the rain or whatever, sweating and shit. Like, that's the shit that wrestling is about, man. You know, show me the characters, but you can also show me the workouts. You know, show the guy in the gym how seriously is he taking this match. And this is just a women's version of it. Instead of, you know, Lita out there clanging and banging, she's doing cardio. You know, she's trying to get in shape. She's trying to get her wind up, you know. And it reminds me a lot of the build up to WrestleMania 12, where you had Bret and Shawn, you know, and Shawn's doing upside down chin ups, you know, and he's climbing stairs, and Bret is out there like Little Mac from Mike Tyson Punch Out, like, you know, like it was great shit. So, you know, I really would have liked for them to do that, like, do an extensive version of that where, you know, we see Becky in the gym doing whatever it is she does, and then we got Lita in the gym doing whatever it is she does. And instead of having that contract signing, we could have just had that segment with Becky Lynch saying, you know, this sucks. You know, I gotta get focused to beat up my childhood hero or whatever. And Lita could have said the same thing, just interspersed between workouts of her running up the hills or whatever, like Rocky Balboa or whatever. That could have been fun, you know, but we had to do something in front of the live crowd. And Lita's just one of those people, she's just happy to be there. And, I'm thinking that, of course, this isn't going to be her last match. She's going to lose this match most likely, and then probably end up wrestling at WrestleMania in a special challenge, which I'm thinking is probably going to be the Sasha Banks match that everybody is, you know, pulling their hair out. Like, what is Sasha Banks doing at WrestleMania? She's probably going to be wrestling Lita. All right, so just chill out. You know, chill out. You also had Tommaso Champa make his Raw appearance. I thought it was his debut at first. But I heard him say that he hasn't been there in a while. So he has been on Raw before. I don't know when. Nerds, let me know, when was Tommaso Ciampa ever on Raw? Please let me know. I have completely forgotten. In any event, Tommaso Ciampa was on Raw to watch Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode lose to the Street Profits. And actually, he was one of the reasons why they lost. So, on commentary, Tommaso Ciampa did a very good job. He talked about NXT, and he says that, you know, there's this misconception that for 7 years he has been on top of some sort of minor league, and that he's been selling out arenas all across the country during that time, and that if you want the NXT title, you either win it from him or you go through him to get it. And I thought this was pretty good. You know, this was excellent. It was a great crossover considering Vengeance Day is the next night. So it was fantastic that we ended up getting some kind of crossover between the two. Dolph Ziggler was distracted by Tommaso Ciampa being outside the ring. Tommaso Ciampa also threw water in Dolph Ziggler's face after Ziggler teased super kicking him and got Tommaso Ciampa to flinch. So this was a great segment. And then I noticed that Ciampa was basically smaller than everybody else at the commentary booth. Now, I don't know if that was... maybe it was the way the camera was shot, but it made Tommaso Ciampa look like he was so small. And then he was also leaning forward, but he came across as being very authentic. I really would have liked for them to give him a legitimate entrance. Like if they would have had his music play, him come out and stand toe-to-toe with Dolph, and maybe they cut that promo in front of everybody. and then have Ciampa fight with him and Rude. You know, that would have been nice. You know, and then he says, now I'm going to invite you to NXT. Now I dare you to show back up. You know, so we're still teasing Ciampa versus Ziggler, which is tremendous. It would have been better if Ziggler hadn't lost this match, even though I think Rude was the one who got pinned. I don't remember. So that would have been so much better. That was awesome. Tommaso Champa just appears at ringside on commentary. I felt like that was kind of anticlimactic. I felt like that was kind of weak. But other than that, I actually kind of liked it. I can tell you what I didn't like. The Hurt Business, which ain't the Hurt Business. It ain't the Hurt Business. They should never have been calling it the Hurt Business. Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander losing to Omos in a 2-on-1 handicap match. That infuriated the fuck out of me. It infuriated the fuck out of me to the likes of which I had not been this pissed off at WWE in such a long time. I almost turned the show off. When they came out to the Hurt Business theme, I almost turned the fucking show off. That is not the Hurt Business. It is not. And this is what they've been doing with these guys when they hurting for tag teams. When they don't have anything, they feed them to Omos. Fuck. This, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my God. Look, listen. Check, look. Omos needs to win. Okay, Omos needs to win. He needs to beat somebody. Why couldn't you bring in 2 no-name job guys? Why couldn't it be somebody from the 24/7 Brigade? Why not Akira Tazawa or somebody like that? Why on earth would you pick Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander? Why would you do that? Jesus Christ, man. Where is we going with this Omos thing? Okay, he beat these guys up. Where is he going? What is his path? What's the future for him? I would have been okay with it if he was the #1 contender for the title or something like that. We want to put him over like an absolute beast. But that doesn't seem to be the case. Now, it could be the case if we're, saying Lashley's going to wrestle Omos for the title. If that's going to be the WrestleMania match, we're going to have Omos versus Lashley. Oh, boy. Then, okay, I'm okay with this. Right? If that's going to be the case, then I'm okay with this, because then Lashley could, go to his boys and try to reform the Hurt Business, remotivate these guys. But if it's just going to be some more horse shit, then fuck WWE for putting them in this situation. You don't denigrate the Hurt Business brand like this. This is an abomination. This is horrible. This is garbage. They lost in like a minute. I get it, man. I get it. I get the business end of it. But that doesn't mean that in my heart, I have a heart. And Hurt Business ruled. And then you do this to me? You might as well run me over with a truck. This is bullshit. There needs to be a big payoff for this. There needs to be a big payoff for this. The only thing that can make this remotely okay is if Omos steps forward as the top contender to wrestle Lashley at WrestleMania for the title. That's it. That's it. That's the only way I can buy into this. Other than that, I need to take a pizza cutter to these dudes. I'm talking all of them. Vince, Bruce, all of them. Just take the Nick Gage pizza cutter across their fucking scalp for being this stupid. That you have a good thing in the Hurt Business and you denigrate it to the point that they're just fucking job guys to Omos. It's not right. It ain't fair. Dare I say it's probably racist. Alright, so that was all of Raw. The segments went a little too long. I think that women's match ate up almost a whole hour. So that was almost a whole hour accounted for. Again, very cliche go-home show. It was mostly promos. They didn't put too much heat on anything, which sucks. But, it's just weird WWE booking now, where they're not trying to go home strong. And then SmackDown has been taped. So that's something too. And since SmackDown's been taped, the spoilers have been floating around all over the place already. And it's really unfortunate. But I'm going to still watch the show and instead of talking about the spoilers. I will be just doing a regular SmackDown review because I still want to see what actually occurred, even though I know what occurred. I still want to see what happened. And then there's also going to be things that are taped that did not occur in front of the live crowd that we're going to be able to see as well. So the go home shows for Elimination Chamber, because it's in Saudi Arabia, kind of meant that they're going to take it easy. You know, they're not going to put anybody in a position to get hurt. They're not going to take any risks. They want to be able to get everybody to Saudi Arabia for the week and then get them the hell out of there. You know, because remember that one time they did kind of take their time. They thought they was going to be able to do a live SmackDown afterwards, and didn't work. But so this Raw was again filler, and it is what it is. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Like, share, and subscribe. I'll talk to you guys later.